let me tell you, it was so much easier to find the negative things. Also, let's mention the elephant in the room. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I have a very exciting topic today about Warsaw. So I do hope you'll stick around. I have lots of interesting and exciting content on my channel. Take a look, feel at home, and it will totally make my day. So today I'm going to give you 3 pros and cons about Warsaw. 3 positive things and 3 negative things. And
let me tell you, it was so much easier to find the negative things.
The list could go on forever, honestly. But it's not because Warsaw is such a bad city. But those of you who've watched my channel for some time know that I love nature, that we want and plan to live in the countryside, and I am no fan of big cities. There are, though, some cities that would be more preferable to me than Warsaw, probably. So that's that. That's the reason why I had to limit the cons. Also, let's mention the elephant in the room, which is that in these times it's almost unbearable to live in a big city, no matter how much you loved it before. And I talked about it in one of my previous videos, why you should own a piece of land, and about the Great Reset, which you should definitely check out. So, Warsaw. I've lived in this city for the last 10 years, so I think I have something to say about it. And some of these things, which I will mention, are applicable to the whole Poland as well. And I already have a popular video on my channel about Poland, which you should definitely check out as well. So these pros and cons are about Warsaw, but some could be applied to Poland as a whole, and I will mention that when I speak about it. So the first negative thing about Warsaw is the public transportation, the roads, the air, and all around this. So let's break it down. Around 2 million people live in Warsaw at the moment. It's a very big city, and up until 4-5 years ago we only had 1 metro subway line. In the last years they've started to build a second line, which is still not enough, but it's a work in progress. So we do have some operating stations on that line that you can use, and we've had that for the last 4 years. But it's a big city and the public transport is absolutely awful. It could take you up to 2.5 hours to get from the south to the north and from the east to the west and so on. It takes me 1 hour to get to the city center from where I live, and I don't live somewhere crazy in the forest outside of Warsaw. I live in a suburb of Warsaw. I am so grateful that I don't have to take the public transport every day as I used to, as I work from home, which is one blessing in this madness. So the public transport is awful. The buses, they don't have separate lanes on the roads, on the highways here in Warsaw, so they are standing in awful jams. A bus trip that supposedly should take 20 minutes could take 40 minutes. You never know when you will arrive. The same applies to cars. If you are going by car, the only safe thing to take in Warsaw is the subway, the metro, or the tram. But the tram also has lights, and sometimes there were jams on the road, but the tram should arrive on time if all is well. Going by car or by bus in Warsaw is an awful experience, and I don't recommend it at all. Speaking of the roads and the lanes, as I spoke already, the roads are very narrow. There are not enough lanes on the roads, not only for the buses to have separate lanes, but also for the cars to have more lanes. So we have jams and roads that are awful to ride on. Also, another thing are the bicycles and the bicyclists who
go on the roads and make all the cars behind them to stop and go slowly as a turtle.
Because he or she is riding on his or her bicycle. This leads to noise. All capitals probably are noisy, but it leads to noise and to smog. We have very bad air and smog in the winter here in Warsaw. One of the worst in Europe. Sometimes, I already mentioned it before, they are warning people in winter not to go out of your own apartment and not to open the windows because the quality of the air is so bad. Cone number 2 is the building situation here in Poland and the lack of synchronization. So basically every residential developer here or housing association builds the buildings as tall or short in whatever style they want. So we have a situation here in my suburb where I live that all the buildings were not bigger, larger than, let's say, maybe 4 or 5 floors maximum. You could see far away, you had a good view. So wherever you had a view, you had a good view. You didn't have any tall buildings obstructing your view. Then came some residential developers and they have built building as tall as 8-9 floors in different areas of my suburb. So nowadays the view you had before is obstructed by tall buildings. And you have that all over Warsaw, and they are cramming in buildings where there shouldn't be at all. Seems that they are taking every single green spot left and building apartments there. They are also cramming in supermarkets, shops wherever they can, shopping malls wherever they can, instead of leaving some greenery, some parks. They are literally cramming apartments, supermarkets in places where there shouldn't be. I had the situation like that. I had a green spot in front of my window. Now I have a supermarket not a few steps from the house, which is, according to me,
illegal.
It's illegally close. And not only that, we have very few houses in Warsaw. Houses. We have buildings with apartments, apartment complexes, but very few people live in houses, in cottages, in whatever you want to call it, in Warsaw. We have it outside of Warsaw, of course, all over Poland, but in Warsaw itself we have very few of people living in smaller houses, cottages, farms, whatever. Other capitals of Europe, not all of course, but in the north, in the west, in Sweden, in UK, have more of these smaller houses in their capital. The third negative thing about Warsaw, third con, is about the quality of the products in the supermarkets. We have a lot of supermarkets, but they are all the same and they all have the same products. So, don't get me wrong, we do have a vast array of Polish products, of good Polish products, but it's very difficult to find something from a different country, and also some of these products that are in the supermarkets are of lesser quality than, let's say, in Germany. So we have a lot of Polish products, but you will not find anything from Italy or Sweden or Spain unless there is a special week. Sometimes in those supermarkets we have a special week, Spanish week or an Italian, and then you can find something exciting like pasta, special pasta from Italy, or olives, special olives, or Spanish lemonade, or sweets from Greece, or anything else, you name it. But these don't happen very often. When they do, I love to browse through the shelves and find something, some gems, something that I've missed, that I've eaten abroad. And also, as I said, we have a lot of supermarkets, but they are all the same. So you go to one and you will find the same Polish yogurt, cheese, bread, etc. And in the other you will find the same. But that's something that's probably all around the world, in all the countries. You have similar products in all the shops. And the second thing I already mentioned is the quality, especially when it comes to, I would say, some sweets, washing powder, for example, chocolate, like some different things. And it's proven, it's a fact, the same chocolate, the same brand, the same name, the same everything contained less sugar, better quality ingredients than the one in Poland. In Poland you will have added chemicals, palm oil, etc. and you will not find it in the same chocolate in Germany. And the same applies to the washing powder, etc. And it's a fact. I read an article that Poland receives the same products but of worse quality than, for example, in Germany. And some people are going to the border of Germany to buy the same thing, like the washing powder, the chocolate, and have a better quality. And also, a lot of these products in Polish supermarkets have a lot of chemicals and additives and colorants added, which you will not find abroad. I lived in Sweden, I travel a lot, so I do compare products, and it's a fact again that a cheese in Sweden, for example, will have nothing added, and a similar cheese in Poland will have additives and colorants added. The same applies to yogurt, sausages, and so on. And it's awful. The only solution to this is to make as much food you can at home, and that's what we are doing. We are baking our own bread, and I want to try to make my own cheese in the future, and so on. It's because it's the only alternative. There are some few products that I like, and you can find goat cheese nowadays and feta cheese, which I am so happy about. There are some sausages you can buy without additives, etc. And I'm very happy about it. But in general, the product situation, produce situation in Polish supermarkets could be better. Moving on to the pros and the positive things, because as you know, I could continue about the negatives forever. So the first pro about Warsaw is that it's a truly Polish capital. We don't have a lot of migrants, so it's almost 100% Polish. The vibe is Polish, the feeling is Polish, the people are Polish. For the most part, the food is Polish. I mean, you are getting a real, genuine East European Polish experience coming here to Warsaw. You cannot say that about many other capitals in Europe, if you can say it at all. But coming to Warsaw, you're getting a thoroughly Polish experience. Traditions and everything included. That's a positive thing, and that's something, if you're looking for a different experience, if you're looking to see another culture, experience another culture, you should definitely come to Warsaw and feel that for yourself, experience that for yourself, and see that for yourself. And the few immigrants we have here are only adding to this vibe. Second positive thing about Warsaw is that it's a city rich in history. This is the city that experienced World War II, that was destroyed during World War II. We have people living here, old people that lived through the World War II here in Warsaw, that saw everything with their own eyes. This city experienced and lived through the Warsaw Uprising. We had the Warsaw Ghetto and the remnants from it. It's a city, a capital full of history, full of grim history, of some people still remembering it. You can visit the museums here, see and read about the heroic Polish people that lived here, that fought in the Warsaw Uprising, and that gives hope to live in such a city, to know what people were capable of. And a lot of Warsaw, almost all Warsaw, was destroyed, and there are very few historical buildings left, but some of them were restored. We have an old town, we have Muranów and Praga, which are districts of Warsaw, where you can still see some old buildings, old streets, where you can see where Warsaw Uprising happened. We also have museums which have collected what was left and which tells the stories of this city. So walking through this city is walking with the winds of history behind you. It's a city full of atmosphere. It's a nice city in that sense. It's a historical city. It's a city that rests on the remnants of heroic people. I like that. I love that. It's something that is very nice and wonderful about Warsaw. And the last pro and positive thing about Warsaw is something religious, as also was one of the positive things when I was talking about Poland in general. And that is that you have so many churches here. I do love the fact that no matter where you live and you want to attend a Sunday Mass, there's always a church nearby. And this applies to whole Poland as well, not only in Warsaw. When I was living in Stockholm, I had to travel with the public transport or car to a church far away. With the public transport, it took me 1 hour one way to get to the church. So being able to walk for 10-15 minutes and be at the Sunday Mass, which I really appreciate, or going for a walk and wanting to visit God and talk to Him in a church, and being able to do that almost wherever you are, that's also wonderful and amazing, and something that I love about Warsaw and about Poland in general. I gave you 3 cons and 3 pros about Warsaw. I really hope you enjoyed my point of view and my experiences. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.